Commander Rayna Walsh moved through the captured Vakrian research facility with measured steps, her boots echoing against metal floors still warm from the battle. The air carried the acrid scent of plasma discharge and burning circuitry, marking where her forces had disabled the facility's defenses. Victory had come at a cost, 3 good soldiers lost to reach this point, but the intelligence they'd gathered suggested this facility held secrets worth the sacrifice. The deeper sections of the complex lay eerily quiet, most of the Vakrian scientists having fled or surrendered during the initial assault. Rayna's tactical visor highlighted structural damage and potential hazards as she led her small team through the winding corridors. Lieutenant Santos followed close behind, weapon ready but unnecessary in the aftermath of their decisive strike. "Commander," Santos called out softly, gesturing toward a sealed door. "Energy readings suggest active systems behind this one. Different signature than we've seen before." Rayna nodded, studying the unfamiliar locking mechanism. The Vakrian were known for their advanced technology, but something about this door seemed distinct from their usual architecture. "Harrison, get it open." Carefully. Their tech specialist worked quickly, interfacing with the alien systems. The door released with a soft hiss, revealing a chamber bathed in pale blue light. Banks of equipment lined the walls, their purposes unclear but clearly more sophisticated than anything they'd encountered in the upper levels. In the center of the room stood a containment field, and within it floated a being unlike any Rayna had seen in her years of conflict with the Vakrian. Tall and slender, with iridescent skin that seemed to ripple with patterns of light, the prisoner hung suspended in the field's grip. What struck Rayna most were the eyes, deep violet and alert, watching them with unmistakable intelligence. "Life sign stable," Harrison reported, scanning the equipment. "The field appears to be some kind of stasis system, keeping them in perfect preservation." "Can you shut it down safely?" Rayna asked, not taking her eyes off the prisoner. Something about this felt wrong. The Vakrian were conquerors, not known for taking prisoners of this sophistication. "Working on it, Commander. The system's complex, but I think dash." The field flickered and dissolved. The prisoner dropped gracefully to their feet, showing none of the disorientation Rayna would have expected from long-term stasis. When they spoke, their voice carried a musical quality that seemed to resonate in Rayna's chest. "I am Theron, of the Luminarii Scholar caste. And you are not Vakrian." Rayna kept her weapon lowered but ready. "Commander Rayna Walsh, Earth Defense Force. We're here to shut down Vakrian research operations in this sector." She studied Theron's composed features. "Though I'm beginning to think we've stumbled onto something bigger." Theron's head tilted slightly. "The Vakrian held me here because my people refused to share our knowledge of quantum archaeology. They believed they could extract it directly from my mind." A bitter smile crossed their features. "They learned too late that Luminarii consciousness cannot be forced." Santos shifted uneasily. "Commander, we should report this immediately. If there's a previously unknown species with that kind of technological advancement dash." "Your caution is warranted," Theron interrupted, "but unnecessary. My people withdrew from galactic affairs generations ago, after seeing too many young races destroy themselves with knowledge they weren't ready to handle. We observe, we study, we preserve, but we do not interfere." "Then why tell us this now?" Rayna asked. Theron's gaze fixed on her. "Because you had the choice to treat me as a spoil of war, yet your first instinct was concern for my well-being. Because in the midst of conflict, you retain the capacity for compassion. Perhaps." They paused, those violet eyes seeming to look through her. "Perhaps it is time for the Luminarii to reconsider our policy of isolation." Warning klaxons suddenly blared through the facility. Harrison's fingers flew across his console. "Multiple Vakrian ships just dropped out of hyperspace, Commander. This was a trap, they let us take the facility." Rayna's mind raced through options. Standard procedure would be to withdraw, denying the enemy any chance to capture her team or their intelligence. But leaving Theron behind would mean condemning them to continued imprisonment, or worse, if the Vakrian discovered they had shared information with humans. "Your people," she asked quickly, "can they help?" Theron shook their head. "The nearest Luminarii observation post is weeks away at your fastest speeds. We would never reach them." Reyna made her decision. "Then you're coming with us. Santos, take point. Harrison, rear guard. We're getting out of here." She held Theron's gaze. "I won't let them take you again." Something flickered in those alien eyes, surprise, perhaps, or hope. "You would risk your mission, your people's strategic advantage, for one foreign prisoner?" "That's what separates us from the Vakrian," Reyna replied, checking her weapon. "We don't sacrifice individuals for abstract gains. Now move, we've got about 3 minutes before this place is swarming with enemy forces." As they ran through the facility, alarms screaming around them, Reyna knew she had just altered the course of the war. Whether for better or worse remained to be seen, but she couldn't shake the feeling that meeting Theron would prove to be more significant than any military victory. The real question was whether they'd live long enough to find out. The Earthship Horizon's engine core hummed beneath Reyna's feet as she stood in the observation deck, watching distant stars blur past. Their escape from the Vakrian facility had been narrow, too narrow. She'd lost Harrison covering their retreat, another name to add to her growing list of fallen comrades. But they'd made it out, and their unusual passenger was now safely aboard. Theron stood beside her, their iridescent skin reflecting the starlight in shifting patterns. They'd been quiet since their escape, observing the human crew with those penetrating violet eyes. Now, finally, they spoke. "Your ship's quantum drive is remarkably efficient, though the containment field could be optimized further." Reyna glanced at them. "You can tell that just by feeling the engine vibrations? Luminarii sensitivity to energy patterns extends beyond your standard measuring equipment." Theron's features softened slightly. "Your engineer, Harrison, he died protecting others. This weighs on you." "Good people shouldn't have to die for me to do the right thing," Reyna replied, her voice tight. "Yet you still chose to save me, knowing the risk." Theron turned to face her fully. "Your species is fascinating, Commander. You make decisions based on moral imperatives even when they conflict with tactical advantage. Is that so different from your people choosing isolation to prevent their knowledge from being misused?" Theron considered this. "Perhaps not. Though our methods differ significantly." The ship's comm system crackled. "Commander, incoming transmission from Earth Command. Priority 1. Reyna sighed. She'd been expecting this. "Patch it through to my quarters. Theron, you should probably hear this too." In her sparse cabin, Admiral Chen's hologram materialized above her desk. His expression was grave. "Commander Walsh. Your report regarding the Luminarii prisoner Guest, Reyna corrected firmly. Theron is under my protection, not our custody." Chen's eyes narrowed. "Your guest represents an intelligence goldmine that could turn the tide of this war. The Joint Chiefs want them transferred to a secure facility for debriefing immediately. With respect, Admiral, that's not happening." Reyna stood straighter. "The Vakrian tried forcing information from them. It didn't work. I won't let Earth make the same mistake. This isn't a request, Commander. You're ordered to divert to Luna Base. A specialist team is standing by." Theron stepped forward, their presence commanding attention even through the hologram. "Your specialists would learn nothing from me, Admiral. Knowledge freely given may guide, but knowledge taken by force destroys both the taker and the taken. This is why my people withdrew from galactic affairs." "Your people's philosophy is irrelevant," Chen snapped. "We're fighting a war for humanity's survival. If you have information that could help us Then I will share it willingly, Theron interrupted, but only with those who have proven themselves worthy of trust. They glanced at Reyna. Commander Walsh has demonstrated both wisdom and compassion. I will work with her, and her alone. Chen's hologram flickered as he leaned forward. Commander, if you defy these orders then you'll have to court-martial me after we win this war. Reyna cut the transmission. For a moment, silence filled the cabin. You've sacrificed your career to protect my autonomy, Theron observed quietly. Reyna ran a hand through her short dark hair. Maybe. Or maybe I'm gambling that whatever you can teach us willingly will be worth more than anything they could try to force from you. She met their gaze. Was I right? The Vakrians' advantage lies in their quantum targeting systems, Theron said. Their weapons can track ships through hyperspace by detecting quantum wake signatures. But there are gaps in their understanding. Vulnerabilities that could be exploited. And you'd help us do that? I will help you end this war with minimal bloodshed. Theron moved closer, their voice taking on an urgent tone. But Commander, there is something else you must know. The Vakrians' interest in my people's knowledge goes beyond military advantage. They seek something far more dangerous, the ability to manipulate the quantum substrate of consciousness itself. Reyna felt a chill run down her spine. Mind control? Worse. The power to rewrite the very nature of sentient beings. To remake any species in their image. Theron's skin rippled with patterns that somehow conveyed distress. This is why they held me. This is what they tried to tear from my mind. And this is what Earth Command would try to access if they got their hands on you, Reyna realized. Even if they had good intentions, that kind of power would corrupt absolutely, Theron finished. As it has corrupted the Vakrian. This war must end, Commander, but not through such means. Never through such means. Reyna nodded slowly. Then we'll find another way. Together. She moved to her console, fingers flying across the controls. First, we need to disappear. I know some people, independent colonies, resistance cells, who can help us stay off the radar while we work. You would become a fugitive from your own people? I swore an oath to protect humanity, Reyna said firmly. Sometimes that means protecting them from themselves. She looked up at Theron. Are you sure about this? Working with me could be seen as interfering in galactic affairs. Theron's skin shimmered with what Reyna was beginning to recognize as amusement. Perhaps it is time for the Luminarii to stop merely observing history and help shape it instead. But only with those who understand the responsibility such shaping entails. As the horizon changed course, heading for the outer colonies where Earth's influence was weaker, Reyna felt the weight of command settling differently on her shoulders. She was no longer just a soldier following orders. She had become something else, a guardian of knowledge that could either save or destroy, depending on how it was used. She just hoped she was worthy of the trust Theron had placed in her. The independent colony of Haven lived up to its name, a collection of interconnected habitats tucked away in an asteroid belt far from Earth's jurisdiction. Reyna stood in the colony's bustling marketplace, watching traders and refugees mingle freely. After weeks of dodging both Earth Command patrols and Vakrian scout ships, it felt strange to walk openly among others. Theron moved through the crowd beside her, their luminescent skin dimmed to a subtle glow that drew minimal attention. They'd adapted quickly to life among humans, learning to modulate their natural bioluminescence to avoid standing out. Still, Reyna noticed how other colonists gave them space, sensing something different about the tall, graceful figure. Your Lieutenant Santos has made contact with the resistance cell, Theron said quietly. They're willing to meet. Reyna nodded, keeping her voice low. And you're sure about this? That they can be trusted with what we know? The quantum resonance of their communications carries no deception. They seek genuine independence, not power. Theron's violet eyes tracked movement in the crowd. Though we are being watched. Earth intelligence? No. Vakrian agents. 3 of them, trying very hard to look like ordinary traders. A slight smile curved Theron's lips. They're failing. Reyna resisted the urge to look around. How long have you known? Since we landed. Their thought patterns are distinctive. Theron's skin rippled with subtle patterns. They haven't recognized me yet, but they're suspicious of any unusual activity in the outer colonies. We need to move faster then. Reyna tapped her concealed comm unit. Santos, accelerate the timeline. Get our contacts to the meeting point now. They made their way through winding corridors to a lower level of the colony, where industrial noise would mask any conversation. The resistance leaders were already waiting, a gruff woman named Kira with cybernetic augmentations and a tall man called Devon whose sharp eyes missed nothing. Commander Walsh, Kira greeted. Your reputation precedes you. Though I admit, going rogue wasn't something we expected. Sometimes doing the right thing means breaking the rules, Reyna replied. We have information about the Vakrian that could change everything. But we need your help to use it properly. Devon studied Theron with undisguised curiosity. And your friend here? Never seen anyone quite like them. I am a scholar, Theron said simply. One who believes knowledge should serve life, not dominate it. Pretty words, Kira said. But we're fighting a war. We need advantages, not philosophy. What if you could blind Vakrian targeting systems? Theron asked. Render their quantum tracking useless without harming their ships or crews. That got their attention. Devon leaned forward. You know how to do this? I know the principles. With human ingenuity to implement them. Theron glanced at Reyna. We've already begun developing a prototype. Show us, Kira demanded. Reyna produced a small device, their first successful test of Theron's theories combined with human engineering. It generates a quantum interference field. Masks ship signatures, makes them impossible to track through hyperspace. But it needs to be much stronger, and we need a way to mass-produce them. The Resistance has manufacturing capabilities, Devon said thoughtfully. Hidden facilities the Vakrian haven't found. But this is complex technology. It would take time, resources. Time we may not have, Theron interrupted. Their skin had begun pulsing with urgent patterns. The Vakrian agents are moving. They've called for reinforcements. Kira's augmented eye whirred as she accessed colony security feeds. Confirmed. Multiple ships just dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. Heavy cruiser class. They're not here for us, Theron said, their voice tight with concern. They're here for Haven. The colony's quantum signature matches one they've been searching for, a potential site of ancient luminary technology. There are 60,000 civilians in this colony, Devon said sharply. We can't evacuate them all in time. Reyna's mind raced through options. We don't have to. Theron, could we modify our prototype? Turn it into a quantum shield for the whole colony? The principles are the same, but the power requirements would be enormous. Theron's skin shimmered as they calculated possibilities. We would need to tap directly into Haven's reactor core. Which could overload and destroy the colony anyway, Kira pointed out. Not if we do it right. Reyna turned to the Resistance leaders. This is the moment you decide who to trust. We can help protect Haven, but we need full access to your systems, and we need it now. Devon and Kira exchanged looks. If you're wrong about this, then we all die together, Reyna said firmly. But if we're right, we prove that humanity and its allies can stand against the Vakrian without becoming like them. For a moment, no one moved. Then Kira nodded sharply. Follow me. The reactor control center is this way. As they raced through the colony's maintenance tunnels, Reyna felt Theron's hand brush against hers. "Your certainty in this plan, it gives others courage." "I'm not certain," Reyna admitted quietly. "I'm terrified. But sometimes you have to act anyway." "That," Theron said, their voice carrying an odd note of wonder, "is why my people were wrong to withdraw from the galaxy. We sought perfect certainty and found only stagnation. You embrace uncertainty and find strength in it." They reached the reactor center, and for the next hour, time became a blur of desperate work. Theron directed modifications to their prototype while Reyna and the Resistance members rerouted power systems. Warning sirens blared as Vakrian ships entered weapons range. "Ready," Theron announced, their hands hovering over the modified device. "But Reyna, this has never been attempted at this scale. The quantum feedback could be devastating." Reyna placed her hand over Theron's. "Then we face it together." They activated the device. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then Reyna felt it, a subtle vibration in reality itself, as if the space around Haven was being gently rewritten. On the sensor displays, the Vakrian ships suddenly seemed confused, their targeting systems unable to lock onto anything in the colony. "It's working," Devon breathed. "They can't get a weapons lock." "More than that," Theron said softly. "The quantum interference is masking all traces of luminary technology. They have no reason to attack a target they can't detect or confirm." They watched as the Vakrian ships held position for several tense minutes, then slowly began to withdraw. Only when the last ship vanished into hyperspace did Reyna allow herself to breathe normally again. "You did it," Kira said, looking at Reyna and Theron with new respect. "You actually did it." "We did it together," Reyna corrected. "And this is just the beginning. Now we know the technology works at this scale." She looked at Theron, who nodded in agreement. "Now," Theron said, "we can start teaching others to shield themselves. Not through weapons or dominance, but through protection and cooperation." As the Resistance leaders began discussing implementation plans, Reyna felt a subtle shift in her understanding of the war. They weren't just fighting against the Vakrian anymore, they were fighting for a new way of existing in the galaxy, where knowledge served life rather than controlled it. She just hoped the rest of humanity was ready for such a profound change. News of Haven's successful defense spread through the outer colonies like wildfire. Within weeks, resistance cells across the frontier were implementing Reyna and Theron's quantum shield technology. The Vakrians' once unstoppable targeting systems had met their match, and for the first time in years, the tide of war seemed to be turning. But victory brought its own complications. Reyna stood in the Horizon's command center, reviewing reports from their growing network of allied colonies. Earth Command had finally noticed their success, and not everyone was happy about it. Another diplomatic communiqué, Santos reported, looking up from his console. "They're offering full amnesty if we turn over all quantum shield specifications to Earth's military division." "Along with Theron, I assume," Reyna said dryly. "That part's non-negotiable, according to Admiral Chen." Theron, who had been working at a nearby terminal, turned to face them. Their skin rippled with complex patterns that Reyna had learned to read as concern. Earth's military would attempt to weaponize the technology. "They already are," came a new voice. Devon emerged from the ship's communication hub, his expression grim. "Our contacts in the core systems have confirmed it. Earth's weapons division is trying to reverse-engineer the quantum interference effect into some kind of devastating attack system." Reyna felt her jaw tighten. "Exactly what we were trying to prevent." "How close are they?" "Too close," Theron said softly. "I can feel the quantum disturbances from their tests even here. They don't understand the dangers they're playing with." "Commander," Santos interrupted urgently. "Multiple ships just dropped out of hyperspace. Earth Defense Force signatures." The tactical display lit up with incoming vessels, not just patrol ships, but heavy cruisers. At their center, Reyna recognized the distinctive profile of the EDF flagship, Adamant. "Admiral Chen," she muttered. "He's done waiting for our cooperation." "We should run," Santos suggested. "The quantum shields dash. Won't hide us forever," Theron finished. "And they're not just after us now. They want the technology, and they'll extract it from any colony that's using it." Reyna studied the tactical display, mind racing. "How many colonies have implemented the full shield system?" 17, Devon answered. "Another dozen are in progress." "And the Vacrian? Any unusual movements?" Theron's skin pulsed with rapid calculations. "Their fleet formations have changed. They're pulling back from colonial space. Consolidating around something." Their violet eyes widened. "Reyna, they're gathering at their primary research facility. The one where they held me." Understanding hit her like a physical force. "They're not retreating. They're protecting something." She turned to Theron. "You said they were trying to manipulate consciousness itself. Could they have succeeded? If they have." Theron's patterns shifted to ones Reyna had never seen before, not fear, exactly, but deep existential concern. "We cannot allow either side to possess such power. The temptation to use it, even with good intentions, would be overwhelming," Reyna finished. She straightened, decision made. "Santos, send word to all allied colonies. Tell them to prepare for possible Earth force aggression. Devon, contact Kira, we'll need Haven's manufacturing capabilities at full capacity." "What are you planning?" Theron asked. "Something stupid," Reyna admitted. "We're going to reveal everything, to both sides at once. The quantum shields, the consciousness manipulation research, all of it. Show them exactly what they're each trying to achieve, and what it would cost them. They'll try to stop us," Santos warned. "Which is why we need a bigger stage." Reyna's fingers flew across the tactical console, highlighting a specific sector. "The Nexus. The neutral trading station where representatives from all species gather. If we can broadcast the truth from there." "Earth Command would never let you get close," Devon pointed out. "They won't have to." Theron stepped forward, their skin glowing with sudden purpose. "I can call my people. The Luminarii have observers at the Nexus, we always have. If they understand the gravity of this moment, they'll break their policy of non-interference," Reyna realized. "But will they come in time?" "They'll come," Theron said with quiet certainty. "Because you've shown us that observation without action is just another form of oppression." Reyna nodded sharply. "Santos, plot a course for the Nexus. Devon, get back to Haven, coordinate with Kira to protect the colonies if this goes wrong." She turned to Theron. "Are you sure about this? Your people might not forgive such a dramatic breaking of tradition." "Some traditions," Theron said softly, reaching out to touch Reyna's hand, "are meant to be broken. You taught me that." The moment stretched between them, heavy with unspoken meaning. Then the ship's alert system blared, the Earth Force vessels were moving to intercept. "Multiple weapons locks," Santos reported. "They're not here to negotiate, Commander." "No," Reyna agreed, squeezing Theron's hand once before moving to the command station. "They're here to stop us from changing everything." She activated the ship-wide comm, all hands, battle stations. "We're about to make history, one way or another." As the Horizon's engines roared to life, Reyna felt the familiar weight of command settling on her shoulders. But this time it was different. This wasn't just about winning a war anymore. This was about deciding what kind of galaxy would emerge from the ashes of conflict. She just hoped they'd live long enough to see it. The Nexus loomed before them, a massive structure of intersecting rings and gleaming corridors where species from across the galaxy conducted trade and diplomacy. The Horizon limped toward it, scoring from near misses marking its hull. They'd barely escaped the Earth Force fleet, their quantum shields pushed to their limits. Reyna stood at the command console, watching as more ships appeared at the edge of the system. Earth Force vessels approaching from one direction, Vakrian warships from another. The neutral station's defense grid hummed to life, but everyone knew it wouldn't be enough if both sides decided to attack. Luminary signals detected, Santos reported, his voice tight with tension. Multiple ships dropping out of quantum space. Reyna glanced at Theron, who stood perfectly still, their skin pulsing with complex patterns. Your people came. They did more than that, Theron said softly. They brought the archives. As if in response to their words, space itself seemed to ripple. Massive vessels of impossible geometry emerged from quantum space, their hulls shimmering with living light. They took up position around the nexus, their presence alone causing both Earth and Vakrian ships to halt their approach. The station is hailing us, Santos said. They're offering emergency landing clearance. The Luminary insisted. Reyna felt a moment of pure relief. Take us in. Carefully. The next hour passed in a blur of activity. Representatives from every major species gathered in the Nexus's great assembly chamber. Reyna stood before them, Theron at her side, as they laid out everything, the quantum shields, the Vakrians' consciousness manipulation research, Earth's attempts to weaponize defensive technology. Both sides seek power they cannot control, Theron explained, their voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. The ability to rewrite consciousness itself would not end conflict, it would only ensure that the victors could remake all others in their image. And your solution is to simply share this knowledge freely? Admiral Chen demanded from the Earth delegation. Do you have any idea how dangerous that would be? More dangerous than letting either side develop it in secret? Reyna countered. The quantum shields work because they protect without harming. They demonstrate a better path forward. The Vakrian High Commander, a massive figure of scaled armor, rose from his seat. Pretty words, but they ignore reality. Power is the only true safeguard. No, came a new voice. A Luminary elder stepped forward, their ancient form radiating wisdom and authority. Power without wisdom destroys itself. We learned this lesson long ago, and in our fear, we chose isolation. We were wrong. Murmurs ran through the assembly as the elder continued. The archives contain all of our knowledge, both of quantum mechanics and consciousness manipulation. We will share this knowledge, but not with any single power. Instead, we will establish a new council, drawn from all species, dedicated to ensuring technology serves life rather than dominates it. And if we refuse? Chen asked quietly. Then you will face not just the resistance, Reyna said firmly, but every independent colony in neutral world that believes in a future built on cooperation rather than conquest. The choice, Theron added, is between evolution and extinction. We offer you the chance to grow beyond the limitations of conflict. Silence fell over the chamber. Reyna felt the weight of the moment, the countless lives hanging in the balance. Then, slowly, representatives began to rise, first from the neutral worlds, then the independent colonies, and finally, remarkably, from both Earth and Vakrian delegations. The peace that followed wasn't simple or immediate. It took months of negotiations, years of building trust. But the quantum shields became a symbol of what was possible, technology that protected without destroying, knowledge that served rather than subjugated. Reyna stood in the Horizon's observation deck one last time, watching ships from dozens of species moving peacefully through space around the Nexus. Theron's reflection appeared beside her in the viewport, their skin glowing with contentment. Having second thoughts about retirement, they asked softly. Reyna smiled, reaching for their hand. No. We did what we set out to do. The Council can handle things from here. She turned to face them. Though I admit, I'm a bit nervous about your proposal to explore the quantum archaeology sites. We still don't know what's out there. That's what makes it wonderful, Theron said, their violet eyes shining with excitement. We'll discover it together, not as observer and observed, but as equals. Partners. Partners, Reyna agreed, pulling them closer. In every way that matters. As their ship prepared to depart, Reyna thought about the long journey that had brought them here. She had found Theron as a prisoner, seen them as an ally, and finally recognized them as something more, a bridge between worlds, a proof that the greatest victories came not from dominance, but from the courage to reach across boundaries and recognize the light in others. The war had ended not with a final battle, but with a choice, to see beyond the constraints of fear and find strength in unity. As the horizon entered quantum space, carrying them toward new adventures, Reyna knew they had won something far more precious than mere victory. They had won the right to write their own story, together.